Okay. So when we did the class last time, we showed 3 different ways, right, to deal with a dropdown. So number 1 was visible text, number 2 was value, and the number 3 was index value. So you have 3 options. That means you have 3 different tools, and you get to choose which one to use and when. So in this case, for this specific scenario, you're validating, not only you're validating that you can choose the right option, but also you're validating the text for the option itself. So it makes sense that if you choose visible text, because that's what the user sees also. Now, there are situations in application where the visible text is not as descriptive as the value. And we are selecting value, but visible text should be your first priority because that's what the user sees. And then when you really don't care about, which option you want to select, because that's not part of your test. You're not testing the dropdown. You're not testing the option. You just want to get through it because you just want to select something and go to the next page. Then you can select through index value, right? Index value starts from basically 0. And so you can always say, I want to select number 1. So it'll be always selecting second option in your dropdown. So let's see, did you change that to visible text before running?
No,
okay,
I didn't.
So let's do that because no matter what you do, it's not gonna pass, right? Oh, it's Windows, my bad.
Well, actually, you just selected it now. It's very strange.
Yeah, 1 second. I will do Command B. Okay. Options.add. Okay, that's fine. This is where you're ending. Hold on a second. I verify all. Okay, this is for verification, so I'm not going to touch that. And this is where you need to change, right? So notice you got all these options. All right. So if you run it now, it should work.
Let me try again. Because I tried this earlier as well.
Okay. Let's see what it says though.
Okay, now it's selected.
Mm-hmm. But the bachelor's degree didn't, right? Because cannot locate option with value. So let's look at because that's a different separate dropdown, right?
Well, I changed the visible text. I changed the visible text to PST. So it's now taking the abbreviation, but the code is still selected by visible text.
Right. Let's see. Let me go back there. Let's see, what was that?
You see, I put PST there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so that's why it's selected, you're saying?
I mean, I have no clue. I've tried all different combinations, to be honest. It shouldn't even work at this point right now because it's PST and stuff. The whole tool.
One thing that I guess like we just made the change and it didn't take the change. As okay, let me see if I save it. I don't know if that was this Eclipse or this is
this is not Eclipse, it's IntelliJ.
Okay.
I just changed the background.
Okay. This is pretty weird because so
it's the same code that you used. I wasn't able to reuse it.
Drop down, this will drop down, select by visible text, and then this is your option. Okay, an option coming from here, right? I select option, and then you have the locator right there. It should have worked. Form data, this is your how is PST working? That's my
that's what threw me off just now.
It doesn't make sense to me. Okay. Yeah, there could be 1 or 2 things. It's just that it probably didn't say it. I'm gonna go ahead and remove all the cache, right? Because it could be also caching issue. You guys know
Yeah.
what is the difference between cache versus cookie? It's a good topic to talk about. Okay, let me just go ahead and remove all the cache first. Invalidate all the cache, clear cache, clear VCS logs. Okay, that should be fine. Okay. After that, we're gonna run one more time. And who can tell me what is a cache and what is cookie, guys? Because you're gonna be basically a software developer, right? When you write code for automating a website, aren't you a developer? Aren't you an engineer? The only difference is that you're not developing an application, but you are developing tests for the application. So there is a very little difference between you and the developer, but and that's why there are some expectation, right? So let's talk about cache and cookie in the meantime, since this is being running. Who can tell me about cache and cookie? Everybody understand cache and cookie properly?
Is it stores data so that the future request for that data can be served faster? I just read that online.
Okay, and then is that a cache or is that a cookie?
That's cache.
That's cookie.
Okay.
I Google that for cache, not cookie.
The one
Okay.
which stores user choice isn't that cookie?
Nope. So yeah, cookie is more to do with credentials, personalization, authentication. And I'll give you a little bit more easy way to kind of understand. Some of you guys will probably understand better if I explain in a more easier way. So think about let's run it in the meantime. Think about when you go to a new website, right? And the website has to serve the information, like for example, maybe the page logo, maybe there's some video, maybe there's some images on the website. So the first time you go to the website, somehow it takes a little bit of time, right? It loads, and then everything loads to your computer and you're seeing it. But what if you visit the same website then like within the next 10 seconds or 30 seconds? Do the company spend more time and money, or I guess should the company spend more money to give you the same information you just got like 10 seconds ago? It doesn't make sense, right? Because nothing has changed between 10 seconds and now. So if nothing changed from the company side, isn't it better to save those data somewhere so that way they can just load it from the cache? So what developers do when they develop an application, they use local storage on your browser, and they get access to that in order to save different information. So it could be like images, it could be like resources, styling sheets, something that is not that sensitive. And they will save those information on your machine. It's because whenever you visit again, your application immediately, brings up everything that you need. And it's because why? It's because all the information is locally saved in your own browser. Okay. Now, if one day developer makes some changes and they realize that the cache needs to be refreshed, they will trigger that from their application, right? So when they deploy the application, it will basically check to see if there is an expired cache or within the application before even running the application. So and then if it realizes, okay, the date doesn't match, the last update was some so and so date, it will trigger that automatically, and developers have the choice. Sometimes what happens at work is that developers don't do that, right? They don't really care about the updating the cache. So they will say that, okay, you got to remove all your cache before you can do the testing, because they're expecting the users to do the same, right? It's not auto. It's basically developers are expecting that all of the users are going to do that. So therefore, you as a tester have to do the same in order to not see an issue. So many times you're going to find issues on your application because of the cache and cookies is using old resources. That means old image, old style sheet, right? When I say style sheet, that means is the instruction in CSS to tell the application to follow a specific theme or maybe a style, font size, colors, and all of that, right? Now, cookie, right? What is cookie? Cookie is basically when you go to an application, when you log in once, and then you visit again within the 10 seconds, maybe within the next day, next 3 days, 4 days, whatever it is. On Facebook, for example, it doesn't ask you to log in again. It kind of knows who you are, So what cookie is that? It's basically, it gets your username and password, it authenticates you, and it creates some cookie. And it's a very long string, right? That cannot be like somehow guessed or hacked into. So they save your authentication information in cookie. So that way you don't have to log in again and again and again. It would be very, very annoying to ask users to log in again and again and again. So if you send me your cookie, so let's say you logged into Facebook right now and you somehow sent me that cookie, or I somehow grabbed that cookie, I can log into your Facebook right now. And I will be able to log in as you without any problem, right? And same thing, and any website out there, and with some exception, as at least based off of experience, many companies, they don't really have a mechanism to say, okay, if somebody copied the cookies, and somebody else uses the same cookie, then they should not be able to like log in or see their information or things like that. There are mechanisms that developers can apply to make sure that browser to browser, if it's slightly browser changed and it's the same cookie, it should detect and kind of invalidate that cookie. But most of the time, the cookie is left untouched, because even as a tester, sometimes we use those cookies, right? For automation purpose, let's say we are running tests, we don't want to log in again and again and again and again. What we do, before we've been running our tests, we log in, we copy the cookie, we save it, and now all of our tests will use the same cookie, right? Therefore, we never have to log in again after the first test, right? So again, you guys understood what's the difference between cookie and cache now?
Yes.
All right, so if developers make changes, so in a simple form, if your development team made changes, and which they will do every 2 weeks, right? Or every day, they were gonna push changes. If you find an issue, to remove your cookies first and try it again to see if that issue is there on the same application. If it's not there, that means it's a cache related issue. And you can probably recommend the developers to say, hey, can you somehow reload cache if there is a changes to the application? Because the user may face the same issue. But cookies comes with expiration date, right? So if it's sensitive, for example, Chase Bank or whatever, even if you copy the cookie and give it to me, it's not gonna work, right? There is not just single thing. It's not just one single thing. They also look at the IP as well as the device address or even the browser to make sure that it is as safe as it can be. But a company like, for example, let's say social media, public application where there is less sensitive data, they will leave it alone and they will leave it by default as is. Okay, so did it work?
No, Joel, but no.
All right, so let's see. I mean, your problem is pretty unique. So, okay, so you did PST there. I'm gonna do
so when I did PST and master's degree with no space, and I used by visible text, it was able to select them, but which is completely wrong.
Yeah, that is insane, because
if I use this method, like which was what we're supposed to be doing, right, for all the drop downs, and then another drop down I come across, but I'm not using the right parameter that's driving this code right here, it's gonna give me another issue, for example. So like here, I'm using the abbreviated values, right? But let's say, for example, for another drop down, I'm using, you know, the long unabbreviated value, but it's not able to select that. I have to like create another method to tackle it.
Yeah, this is pretty unique. Honestly, like I don't have a solution for this because this method shouldn't be. What I can do is probably go into your form and see if I let's see you got a Pico container there. We're not using this actually. I don't know if this is causing an issue, so I'm gonna remove this real quick. And this is related to Selenium because we're using the Selenium method. So I'm gonna go ahead and update Selenium for you. And maybe give you a higher version in this case. Let's see. Upgrade Selenium to 4.2. Let's see. I hope it doesn't come with more issues, right? Because yeah, 4.2.
I have some more. Wait, actually, what happened to core? Yeah, I have this as well. I had to add this in because my test runner wasn't working.
Yeah, that's fine. But core is fine because like the method that we're using for dropdown is actually Selenium. So anything else should be fine. I'm gonna go back to this. Okay, so visible text still fine, and let's run it right now. So now if PST shouldn't work, right? It shouldn't work at this point. So okay, so let's go ahead and wow. PST worked. Yeah, PST works for some reason. Master degree is also working. So somehow the Control C. What's happening somehow is that when you do visible text, it is using. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove this for a second. Select by value, it's there, and then select by visible text, which is a string. Yeah, so this is pretty unique, right? Because it's clearly, this is a built-in method, right? So let's say it's not doing the right thing, even I can't really do anything at this point, right? Unless we somehow write it in a different way. So let's say I'm gonna give you another way to do this.
That was my only other alternative, like thinking like I was gonna make another method.
Yeah. Drop down dot, okay, select by. So maybe if you, I just want to see this actually, this is gonna be funny. Option. So if you do this, what happens? Let's see. Okay, so let's, PST should be, if it works, then obviously the other method is, yeah, it's just, it's not logical at all because they're two different things.
Oh, it worked.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, so now it worked. So let's say something that is not there. If it works, then we can probably guess what happened there. Okay, good. It shouldn't work. Okay, let's see. Well, you cannot locate option with LED. Okay, that makes sense. But for some reason, your select by visible text and the option is same, doing the same work. For now, just leave it as is, but just to know, just so you know it's supposed to be different. So
Yeah, no,
at this
I
point,
completely get it. I understand.
yeah,
You know
at
how
this
the
point,
functionality. Mhm.
yeah. So something like that again, like I said, something like that, we can probably work around it, like click, and then you can do double click in this case, right? You click on the drop down. When it's open, you click on the option instead of using the method. That is a fragile, very fragile way of dealing with drop down, and I wouldn't recommend. But this we can probably, I don't know. Let's see how far. I mean, at some point we will find out why this is happening, but I will do some Googling as well. Anybody else with any problem, guys, before we?
I appreciate
Okay.
it. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah. This.
Mine is-
Yeah. These are. Mhm. Go ahead.
Sorry, so mine is still updating, so I will let you know like after we done with our class.
Okay. Okay, that's fine.
If it's
So
working.
these are pretty
Thank you.
interesting issues. Like I said, when you join a company, they will expect you to troubleshoot and be able to like at least find the root cause and try to fix, because we don't have an IT department who's going to come and really just help you get up and running. So over time, you will face these problems, and then you will know how to fix it. So that's good. The more problem you face is better, because then you're more prepared. Okay, with that said, I'm gonna start sharing my screen, and we go in there. And today I'm gonna do a little bit of short class because I have an appointment with my personal trainer. All right, let's see. Insurance company. So we're gonna go ahead and look into the test and where we left off. So we validated some things. So last time, what we did, I'm gonna run this real quick, maybe it's better so we get to that section real quick. Okay. So as a automation engineer, when we were given test cases, we don't just simply follow exactly how it is to automate. For example, selecting drop-down and validating everything at once. But as the manual tester, they're going to say, come to the second page and look one at a time, right? They will basically look one at a time, but this will be very, very painful for somebody just go ahead and doing manually. Now, for the second test case, they're going to say, go to the same page, education, and then validate all of the options for education. And then they have another test case to go into the same page and then validate if the credit report consent, yes or no, available or not. And then similar to that, all of them will have their own test cases in terms of manual, right? If they do combine all of them in manual, it becomes I would say it becomes really big manual test case, a single manual test case. So that's why, as an automation engineer, we do have flexibility to say, if I'm passing through this page, I might as well put more assertions. But also, we have to make decisions sometime to say, okay, no, this test is only to validate this on this page, only all of the dropdown, and that's it. And that's it. I don't want to do any more validation. I want to use another test case for next page and so and so. And the question here is that why we choose this kind of situation or this kind of scenario is because if you are on your second page and somehow this is where it failed, it will not validate anything else, right? It will not validate anything else. At this point, most of your tests will fail, right? Because it didn't want to go any further. So that's why we also be careful before combining test cases. We want to combine things that make sense. We don't want to combine everything and have a giant test case that does all of the verifications. So in this case, what I would do personally, in this page, I would validate all of the field and done. The next page, I would do the same thing, all of the field and done. But then we also need end-to-end test cases. Sorry about that. So sometime when we automate, we have to make these decisions to make sure that we're choosing the right test case, we're automating efficiently. Otherwise, we're going to go back and forth in the page and it's not going to do anything, right? And over time, we also have to learn about Selenium. So if you do click, notice like it really doesn't do much. It just clicks. If it passes or fails, doesn't matter. If the click worked or do not work, it doesn't matter. It will move on to the next line of code. So we have to also make sure that we add assertions in appropriate places. So if I click on, let's say, proceed to next step, I want to validate that I went to the next step by looking for step 2 of step 4, right? This tells me that I'm on the next step. Okay. So let's try to continue from here. So we did the bachelor degree and everything. I'm not going to touch the, let's see if I'm trying to look for, let me go on to the next. They don't have checkbox. Okay. Okay. I'm trying to look for a checkbox. Maybe we create a new test case, guys, because, okay, so let's go into condo insurance. Same thing, business. All right, this is fine. VIN number, okay. So today we're gonna just do this one for now. Click auto for the business auto at this point right here. Auto dealer, where is it? Click auto, okay. So today we're gonna write one more test cases. This should be at least giving us an idea how to deal with drop down. So it has plenty of drop down. I was hoping for some checkboxes so that way we can see it. Let's see if I can bring some mortgage calculator, maybe have some checkboxes that we can use. I think we did this before. Okay. It doesn't have it.
Oh, you should do Webdriver University.
Okay. Driver University is that? Let's see what it is. Okay, contact firm, login portal. Yeah, but that's page object model, to-do list. Okay, maybe to-do list is better. Add a to-do list. Yeah, but then again, this is okay. I'm gonna go to Mercury Chores, guys, because I'm not able to find something that have. This is not the one. Mercury Chores, that's it. Okay. So we're gonna try to automate this because then we. Oh, this one is also doesn't have.
I just shared a link.
Yeah, we're trying to. Okay, good. Okay, so that's good. So I guess today's demonstration is about checkbox and radio, and that will complete most of the element, right? So in a application, what kind of elements that we will be dealing with, and let's see. So let's list them. Number 1, we got the text box, right? And we already dealt with it. Number 2 is a button. We dealt with that also. Number 3 was drop down, and we also dealt with it. Number 4 is a checkbox, and number 5 is a radio. Okay, radio button. So if you know how to deal with these elements, in a way, you're able to automate. At this point, you should be able to automate anything, right? The only struggle that you should face is that maybe it's not as easy as what you will see it here, right? So let's go ahead and quickly create a new test case. So when you create a new test case, you just basically go ahead and new file, checkbox, a radio. Learn how to check a checkbox and click on a radio. So here again, feature means objective. What you're trying to do is a whole. It's not just one scenario, right? A scenario, it belongs to the feature. Feature is basically the whole story. So checkbox and radio verification. Radio, let's say, given I'm on the Webdriver. So let's see, I'm on the something, right? I don't know what that's something, right? When I check, so when I check option 1, right? Going out. I'm gonna get rid of this. And I check. Then I should see checked. Makes sense. And here the parameterization is happening because why? So we can make them reusable. But parameterization is something, it's not, it's basically, if you want to do it because you want the reusability and everybody else to use, but you have to understand why you are parameterizing in the first place. If this checkbox is only one of a kind and I will deal with it once and that's it, I should not parameterize that, right? Because there will not be a reusability to that. But since we're dealing with checkbox, there might be more checkboxes in the feature, and to check also asserting, this is basically assertion number 7 to see if a specific checkbox is checked or not. So let me go ahead and create this. So I'm going to go ahead and create all of them at the same time at this point. And now we are at this stage. Okay, so the first one is I'm on the URL, and I'm going to say driver.get and then URL. That's it, right? Simple as that. When I land there, I may want to validate that I'm on the right page, right? So I can say inspect and make it quick. Okay, make a quick title check. So I'm going to copy the expect title, Command C. And now if I put it in here, that title should be this, then it becomes static, meaning I will not be able to use this specific step for any other website. Make sense? So then what I will do, I will go in here. I may just add another one, and I should be. Then I should be on the. So now this is going to be static, right? Because I'm just checking specifically that I'm on that specific page, right? Webdriver University. Then I should be on the Webdriver University, right? So go ahead and create a subdefinition there, and I can say expected title is equal to something string, or you know what this is, I can just go ahead and make it a reusable. I should see page title something, right? String. Okay, string page title. So this, our expectation is already there. Okay, right here. So we don't need that. So I can say simply one liner, assert dot assert true, or assert dot assert equals. And I can say the first one is basically, what is it? The first one, I believe, expected. So assert equals, first one is expected. So I can say page title. You guys feel free to ask questions because I'm running through it very fast. We spent a lot of time in the beginning. So Webdriver, oh, driver dot get title, right? And this will be as simple as that, right? So we're just asserting to make sure that we see this specific page title. Now, if I go back in here, I will have to, I should be, or I should, let's see. I should see page title something. And I want to go back to this website and copy the page title, maybe. Let's see which one. Okay, perfect. Let's see. This, and then this is where we are going. And then now we're going to check the checkbox, the first checkbox, right? So right here. So let's see what is the first checkbox is made out of, right? So we go into the option 1, click, and as you can see, value option 1. So can I use the value? Yeah, of course you can. So I'm going to say, let's see. Command B there, and then checkbox, and driver dot find element. Do we still have to do find element? Right? Do we?
Yes.
By value, you see, like the by value is not there. So what should we do? It's the value, guys. I'll let you guys think for a sec.
By ID.
But it doesn't have an ID, it has value.
XPath.
Okay, so that could be an option. What else that we can do?
CSS.
And the CSS as well, right? So I can do CSS. I'm going to teach you something, is that when you want to create a CSS selector, all you got to do is take the value and the attribute. So anytime you see something like this, even this one, you take the attribute and the value together, right, from NC. And then if you want to test it at the bottom, just test it right here at the bottom right there, and you put a square bracket around them. And now it became, you see, it became a CSS selector. So this is at this point, it says selector, and it's selecting only one because right here it says 1 of 1. If we say 1 of 2, it would not work. So Command C, I will go back and paste my this, and we're good to go. Automatically, it added the scape. I think we did talk about scape before, because we have a double quote outside. It will distinguish between this double case and this double case. And now checkbox, we can, let's see what we can do, right? We can click on checkbox, right? Can we? Yes, we can. And let's see what else can we do, because Selenium checkbox, let's see what else Selenium allows us to do, because even though we can click, and I've been using click a lot. Okay, so radio button is selected, check, done, right? So it does use the click. I thought there was another method, but let's see. Option 1. So everything is click. So I thought it was going to be another option for checkbox, but it doesn't have a special method for checkbox. So we can just simply click on it and we're good to go. So as you can see, but right here, this is a string, right? So I'm going to do Command C, and then I can say the checkbox. So that way I can go back in here and insert it, Command B right here. But I don't need this extra pieces of quotation, right? So we should be fine. And then it says I should see the checkbox checked, right? So the way that we can see checkbox checked, there is a method for that also. So I can go back in here. I will go ahead and copy the whole thing. It's going to be very much same. And we need the checkbox string, and then click, and then we got to say checked, or I think selected or not, is selected. Boom. Okay, that's it. So now this is an assertion. If I say it's selected, it will just say true, right? So let's see. I just want to see it first before we can do it. System.out.println. Check. Okay. Where is this? Now, if I run it, and I should see the checkbox check, but it has to be also this, right? This CSS selector. And I should see checkbox check. I'm going to go and run it real quick to see if everything works correctly. Okay, it did it. It did it way too fast, so it's basically, let's see. And it's true. Okay, so it's selected, it's checked basically. So now we can put our assertion. Instead of printing, we can say, see assert equal. I can just go ahead and say assert true, because that's what we are expecting. And then we can go ahead and enter this. But what if you have a message, something, if it other than checked, something else happened, you can say that checkbox was, okay, expecting checkbox to be checked, but it is not. For example, something like that. Error messages, you be creative, right? You can write your own to be as helpful as possible. So if this ever fails, somebody's going to read this error message. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. All right. So this was a test. Now, if you want to do it for each and every single checkbox, should I parameterize this, or should I just go ahead and, if I parameterize, the problem here is that at this point, one second, guys. So what do you, okay, let's just ask you the question, right? Should I parameterize this to choose every single checkbox one at a time and to make sure that it's checked, or should I go ahead and do it in a series, right? Basically just add same thing, right? And then say now 2 and 2, right? And I believe this is going to be the same value, so we should be fine. Which one is more efficient at this point, guys?
I mean, I
The
think.
outline.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Creating the outline.
Scenario outline is more efficient. Scenario outline is going to be more pleasing to your eyes because it will look nicer. But when you run the code, what's going to happen with scenario outline is that it will basically do different run. Each run, it will have its own each run for each row that you'll create. Therefore, it will take longer to validate. We're already in here. Why not check one at a time instead of going into the same again and again and again? Okay. So now we see 2 checked, and then somehow these 2 didn't. right? So we got to see what's inside. Maybe we missed the locator. Maybe the locator is the problem. And then, so option 3, let's see, what did we do? Yeah, option 3 is fine. Okay. What is the difference? Check. Expect a checkbox to be checked, but it is not. Okay, that's where it failed. So option 1 checked, option 2, and then check. Okay, option 3. So it may be firing too fast, way too fast, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and say NI wait. Let's see. So in this case, I may want to wait for a second, right? For second, right? And then now I will create a step, maybe. Oh. All right. It should be INT actually. All right, and don't sleep. Because seconds, Command C times. Right. Anybody has a question about this? Okay, so I'm going to put a single second between these because it seems like it's just happening way, way too fast. So 1 second each. I'm going to run this now just to make sure. $36. Right, one at a time. Boom. So somehow something is not working. It's probably application bug, but it's not working. Okay, so 1 and then 2. I just have to see the locator to make sure we have the right locator. Right. Checkbox option 1, value is this. Okay. Option -1. Option -2. Value is fine. Option -3. Anyways, guys, I did say that I'm gonna leave a little bit early. This is what I want you guys to do, and I'm gonna find some time tomorrow and the day after. So anybody struggling with the framework or this specific test. So the idea here is that today we're learning how to do checkbox and radio, but the dropdown is conveniently located here. So I would say your homework should be automating this page and validating, not just automating, but validating after selecting that you actually selected. Radio and checkbox will be the same way to handle it. There is another hint that I can give you. You can also use a loop to just have a single line of code to select every single one of them at once. Same thing for radio, and then just check if all of the options are selected or not. So I'll see who can use not only just follow what I did, but who can use a little bit more time and to kind of does a little bit more different or more efficient way, I would say, for automating this. So I would say at this point, drop down, select and disable. So you want to check if this is disabled or not. So if you, let's say, peers, you want to basically test every single one of them with your automated test and make sure that you come up with the test cases. So just like this, selecting an option, it should be selected selecting a radio, it should be selected, right? And you should not be able to select more than once because radio, that's how it works. So you want to check that. And then here it gives you a little bit more in terms of to see that if something is disabled when you choose a specific option here. With that said, guys, I will let you guys go and I'll see you guys Saturday. And if anybody from here need extra help, I'll be able to give you guys some time tomorrow or day after, specifically for this homework. Okay. Since I'm running, I'm not going to take any question. I'll see you guys on Saturday, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.